Let me ask you something. Have you ever been at a red light and pulled up next to an Audi R8, and the guy inside, always a guy, is doing this thing where he's pretending he doesn't know you're looking at him, but he absolutely knows. He parked his soul in that car specifically so you would look at him. That's not a driver. That's a performance. And today we're going full therapist mode. No couch, no $300 an hour bill. Just the cold, beautiful, slightly devastating truth about the kind of man who buys an Audi R8. Because there is a very specific psychological profile happening inside that cockpit, and once I explain it to you, you will never unsee it. Ever. Buckle up. Literally, the Audi R8 owner is not the guy who buys a Ferrari. The Ferrari guy wants you to know he's rich. He wants the red, he wants the prancing horse, he wants the scene. He is performing wealth, and he is completely at peace with that. The R8 guy? He tells himself he's more subtle than that. He says things like, and I quote, "I didn't want something too flashy. Brother, you bought a mid-engine V10 supercar with an exhaust note that sounds like two fighter jets having a heated personal argument at 5,000 RPM. There is nothing subtle happening here. The only thing subtle about your R8 is your self-awareness. And even that is debatable. But here's the beautiful part. Here's what makes the R8 buyer genuinely fascinating from a psychological standpoint. He actually, truly, 100% believes he made the practical choice. The Lamborghini Huracan, same platform, almost identical engine, basically cousins built in the same factory by the same people. But the R8 guy looked at the Lambo and said too much, too flashy, too obvious. So he bought the car that is 85% Lamborghini but with 4 rings on the hood, so he can tell himself he's a refined enthusiast and not a show-off. That, gentlemen, is what psychologists call motivated reasoning, and it is absolutely magnificent to witness. Now let's talk about who exactly is buying this car, because there are 3 types and they are devastatingly consistent. The first one is the tech guy who just had a liquidity event. He's around 32. He just got his first real check startup acquisition, stock vesting, something involving the words Series B. He drove a Tesla Model 3 for 4 years because he was being responsible. He told himself the Tesla was fine. It was not fine. He was suffering in complete silence. The second that money hits, he does not call a financial advisor. He walks into an Audi dealership, looks at that R8 under the showroom lights, and every dopamine receptor he has fires simultaneously. He buys it in Suzuka Gray, matte finish, because he has taste. He tells his girlfriend it holds its value surprisingly well and he's done the research. She gives him the look that means she knows exactly what's happening and is choosing to let him have this one. He knows, she knows, nobody says anything. An understanding has been reached. The second type is the guy in his mid-40s who has been responsible his entire adult life and is now completely done with that chapter. This man coached Little League. He drove a Suburban for 11 years without a single complaint. He went to every parent-teacher conference. He mowed his own lawn every weekend for 15 years because hiring someone felt unnecessary. He never once ordered the expensive scotch at the bar. And then one day he's standing in the garage looking at the Suburban and something just breaks loose inside him. Not in a sad way, in a deeply, profoundly liberating way. He has earned this. The kids are almost in college, the mortgage is almost gone. 20 years of doing everything right for everyone else without once buying himself something genuinely, irresponsibly, joyfully unnecessary. He gets the R8, V10 Plus. Because if you're finally doing it after 20 years of waiting, you do not get the base model. His buddies make the midlife crisis jokes, every single one of them. He smiles, because those guys drive Camrys and talk about maybe getting something fun someday. He is done waiting for someday. Someday was 20 years ago. The third type is the guy who absolutely cannot afford this car and bought it anyway. We love him. We respect him deeply. He is living his truth more authentically than most people manage in an entire lifetime. He is financing this for 84 months. The insurance payment causes him a brief existential crisis every single month. He meal preps Sunday through Friday with the discipline of a professional athlete purely to justify the payment. His checking account is essentially a community fundraiser for Audi Financial Services. But when he pulls up to a car meet on Saturday morning and that V10 crackles on deceleration and 20 people turn their heads at the same time, he feels nothing but pure, unfiltered, 100% uncut human joy. And that is honestly more psychologically healthy than most guys buying crossovers they don't love and dying a little every morning on the commute. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because R8 owners have specific behavioral patterns that are consistent across all three types. Universal, clinically predictable. The first one is the unnecessary route. The R8 owner will add 15 minutes to any drive if it means passing through somewhere with foot traffic, a busy restaurant district, a car show, anywhere human beings with functioning eyes might look up from their phones. He will tell you he just likes the drive. He wanted to stretch the engine. Sure, you took a 40-minute detour on a Tuesday evening for the scenic value. Nobody is judging. We're just noting the pattern. The second behavior is the parking situation. Normal people park as close to the entrance as possible. R8 owners park as far from every other car as the geometry of the lot will allow. He will walk 500 yards in August heat before he puts that thing near a shopping cart. The parking job itself is a masterpiece, perfectly centered, maximum buffer zone on both sides. He has developed a precise, personal definition of what constitutes a safe distance from other vehicles, and that number is significantly higher than what any reasonable person would consider necessary. He has also checked on the car during dinner, not once, multiple times. You suggested the restaurant with patio seating specifically so you could maintain a visual. Don't perform innocence right now. We all know. The third behavior is the cold start situation. And this one deserves a moment. There is a specific experience that every R8 owner engineers on a regular basis. The cold start, in a quiet neighborhood, early morning, or late at night, when everything has gone still. He fires that V10 and it settles into an idle with a sound that is objectively, scientifically inappropriate for a residential street. He knows the neighbors have feelings about this. He has seen the looks. He has received the waves that mean things other than hello. He does it every single time without hesitation. Because for 4 seconds while that engine settles, he is the main character of a significantly better and more cinematic version of his own life. And that feeling is worth every awkward moment it has ever caused. No reasonable jury anywhere in this country would convict him. Now, let's go a little deeper. Because underneath all of this, underneath every joke and every behavioral pattern, all of which are completely accurate and you know it, there is something genuinely interesting happening with the R8 and the people who choose it. The Audi R8 occupies a very specific and rare psychological sweet spot that almost no other car manages to hit. It is aspirational enough to feel like a real achievement, exotic enough to turn heads, but approachable enough that you don't feel like a complete maniac driving it to get coffee on a Saturday morning. Ferrari and Lamborghini owners are driving cars that send one clear message to everyone watching. I have arrived, I am wealthy, and I need this parking lot to process that information immediately. The R8 owner is saying something slightly different, something more nuanced. He is saying, I have arrived, but I'm cool about it. That distinction is everything to him, more than he will ever admit out loud to another human being. Because at his core, the R8 buyer is someone who worked hard, made mostly smart decisions, and got to a point in life where he could actually do this, and he wants to celebrate that. But he wants to do it in a way that doesn't feel excessive or performative. He wants it to feel earned and tasteful and just slightly understated. The R8 is his permission slip. It says, you made it, you earned this, and you have enough taste to not need a yellow Lamborghini to prove it. Is that slightly delusional? Maybe just a little bit? Is it deeply, completely, universally human? 100%. Every single one of us has a car in our heads. A car that represents the version of ourselves we always believed we could become. The version that did the work and got there. For a very specific, very passionate group of guys who genuinely believe they're being subtle about it, that car is an Audi R8. So the next time you pull up next to one at a red light, and the guy inside is looking straight ahead pretending the world isn't watching, don't judge him. Respect him. That man made a decision. A calculated, emotionally layered, financially questionable, completely legendary decision. And somewhere underneath all the psychology and the ego and the motivated reasoning about being practical, there's just a guy who loves cars and found one that makes him feel genuinely alive every single time he sits down in it. We should all be so lucky. If you're an R8 owner and felt personally called out at any point during this good, that means it was accurate. And if you're not an R8 owner yet, but you're 2 years deep into the meal prep and the savings plan, we see you. We respect the commitment. Stay the course. That V10 is going to sound exactly as good as you've been imagining.